what are the priorities for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal this transfer window. I've gone with 5, but I don't know, you could have less, you could have more. In my recent chats with you, especially on recent videos, it shows that most of you care about a striker and you care about a midfielder, right? You don't care about wingers, you don't care about defenders, and you don't care about a new goalkeeper. And that is where I'm going to start. The biggest priority at Arsenal right now is a second goalkeeper. Ramsdale, for me, is going to be leaving Arsenal. It's a no-brainer. I don't think anyone out there is going to bring in a conspiracy theory of Ramsdale staying. Now, he's still under contract. He loves Arsenal, and as far as I understand, there is a lot of belief, in Ramsdale from Mikel Arteta. But even if the manager believes in you, even if the manager loves you very much, at some point in time, you've got to ask yourself the question: am I going to be playing games? Is he going to the Euros this summer? Yes, he's going to the Euros. But if he stays at Arsenal for another year, will he be going to the World Cup? Will he be going to the next Euros edition? He won't be going. So because Ramsdale is going to go, I think our number one priority this summer is going to be signing a new backup goalkeeper. And why I think that's actually such a big priority for Arsenal is this. Think about it, guys. Just think about it. Over the years, a second goalkeeper has been unused, and really, really unused. You think about Emi Martinez and, the period of 10 years he spent at Arsenal. He was an unused goalkeeper. We saw many goalkeepers in for Arsenal. Wojciech Szczesny, we looked at Fabianski, we looked at, Petr Cech, we looked at so many different goalkeepers, Ramsdale, Leno, and Emi Martinez was never used as a goalkeeper, as a second goalkeeper, until one time he comes up, Leno is injured, and he showcases his talent, and he says, I want to start every single game, or else I'm leaving this football club. And Mikel Arteta, with his ego, he said, you can go. I will sort it out, right? So a second goalkeeper is important, especially for a guy like Mikel Arteta, who likes to play a second 11 in the Carabao Cup and a second 11 in the FA Cup. But also, why a second goalkeeper is important, the Champions League is changing. We are now playing 8 games instead of 6 in the group stages, right? So it means that you're going to need a bigger squad. Look at Liverpool this season. Kelleher has been a very big upgrade, not really upgrade on Alisson, but a very big I wouldn't say upgrade, but a very useful resource for them this campaign. You cannot even tell that is a second goalkeeper. When Alisson is there, yeah, you don't miss Kelleher. But when Alisson is not there, Kelleher is the goalkeeper that starts at every Premier League side for me right now. It's the same thing with Manchester City. I don't think Ortega is really the top quality guy, but Ortega is alright. Like, Ortega would start for Newcastle, Tottenham, Chelsea, Man United, all these clubs. Ortega would start. So Arsenal need a quality goalkeeper, and for me that is one point and one area we have to address once and for all in this transfer window. Ever since Mikel Arteta came in, looks like the goalkeeping department is not resting. We are not making the final decisions. At some point in time, we are bringing in Matt Turner, who I thought would be a very good second goalkeeper. And then maybe Matt Turner feels like he's better than sitting on the bench at Arsenal. He goes to Nottingham Forest, and that means that Arsenal have to find a second goalkeeper. Then Arsenal sign Ramsdale and Raya to compete with Ramsdale, but both of them cannot be in the same team. So I think go out there and get yourself a guy that is ready to be a second goalkeeper, and a guy that is going to play for you in the FA Cup and for you in the Carabao Cup, if you're Mikel Arteta. And I have a couple of names that we'll be talking about. I think Sam Johnston at Crystal Palace would be a good shout, because for me, Sam Johnston, although he's in line to be playing at a big event, maybe for England, World Cup or Euros, I don't think Sam Johnston is going to be an England number one. And I don't think he wants to be an England number one. Oh, I think he wants to be, but I don't think he's going to be an England number one. And he knows that. In front of him, you have Pope, you have the likes of Trafford coming up, and then you have the likes of Ramsdale and the likes of Jordan Pickford, who are going to be there for quite a long period of time. So I would say Sam Johnstone would be a good shout. I also think James Trafford himself at Burnley would be a very good shout. Now with Trafford, where I think it would be a very good shout is he's still a young goalkeeper. And I don't think he's that kind of guy that's going to be there for 5 years as your second number 2. But he is English, right? If he can, outcompete Raya, we could have a young goalkeeper, at Arsenal, deputizing Raya, but also, filling in for the future. So I still think those two could be names Arsenal look at. But in this summer, a number 1 is as important as a number 9. And I know you guys, know that. The second position, apart from a second goalkeeper, we've got to talk about the defense. And Mikel Arteta, as all the reports are saying, he is really big on getting in a new defender. And I'm not really sure if he wants a right back, a left back, or a centre back, because there is a mixture of targets out there. We are looking at William Pacho at entering Frankfurt. Then we are looking at Ousmane Diamonde at Sporting Lisbon. Then we are looking at who else is in that list? I think Tosin Adarabioyo. Then Jared Braithwaite at Everton. So it's kind of mixed what Arsenal are looking for. But at least the common denominator is Arsenal are looking for a defender, one new defender. Now, do Arsenal need a defender? I get confused when people ask me this. For me, I don't see the urgency or the big necessity for Arsenal to go out there and sign a defender. But of course, most of you in the chat have told me, because you don't know what you're talking about, Arsenal need a defender, and it's as simple as that. And I've decided to actually buy into that. Shadrach says, hello Cossy. Hello Shadrach, hope you're doing well. Hi Cossy, says Saka. Bashir, hi Saka, how are you doing? Oliver says, good evening Mr. Cossy. You think how much money can we spend? I think it's going to be 200 million. I think it's going to be around 200 million that Arsenal spend. We need a second goalkeeper, a cover-up for Ben White, a centre-back, a box-to-box, a cover for Saka, and a top striker as well. That is according to Keita. And then Ayo says, I will go with James Trafford. Okay, James Trafford is a decent goalkeeper. He is a very good goalkeeper, and he's a very, very young goalkeeper as well. Glenn says, I don't think we need a defender, but if Braithwaite is available, he would be a very good option. Big up to you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Now, for me, a defender is an option I never considered. Because you look at the defensive options up, unless Mikel Arteta is doing an upgrade, unless we are doing an upgrade on Kivio or Tomiyasu, I think those are the only two we can upgrade on, or maybe on Zinchenko, right? But you look at our left back position. You have Zinchenko, Timber, Tomiyasu, and Kivio. Those are 4 players. You look at our right back cover. You have Ben White at right back. Tomiyasu can cover there, and Julian Timber as well. So those are 3 players at right back. Now at centre back, maybe that is where the discussion can be had. Maybe Mikel Arteta is not comfortable with Julian Timber being short, with Takehiro Tomiyasu being comfortable in a back 3 rather than in a back 2. Like you see Saliba and Gabriel. And then maybe he doesn't trust the likes of Kivio, he doesn't trust the likes of Zinchenko to push in at centre back. So maybe centre back. If Mikel Arteta doesn't trust the options he has, then maybe we go with one defender at centre back. And like Glenn said, it's got to be a high quality defender like Jared Braithwaite. I think Jared Braithwaite is quality. I think Ousmane Diamonde is quality. I've already talked about Ta and Tapsoba, both of them at Bayer Leverkusen. Those are the options I'll be thinking about. Or even Matthias de Ligt at Bayern Munich. Those are the options I'll be willing to listen to. But if you tell me that Arsenal are going out there to sign an upcoming centre-back, 18 years old, like we were looking at Gerald Hato, I would not really be very convinced. And still, if we're getting a centre back, if we're getting one more defender, we've got to offload, on some of the defenders. It's actually going to become too much. We've got to offload at least one. Either Kivio goes or Tomiyasu goes. And I think it's going to be Kivio because Tomiyasu has just signed a new deal. It looks like Mikel Arteta trusts him. He believes in him. He loves him. And his versatility as a player, ability to play at centre back, right back and left back, gives him a more safer cushion as compared to Jakub Kivio. So Tomiyasu for me stays, and a defender is a priority for Mikel, right? Not a priority to me, but a defender is a priority for Mikel Arteta. So I think we will talk about a defender as well. Now, midfield. How many midfielders do you think Arsenal should sign? Okay, how many midfielders do you think Arsenal should sign this summer? According to David Ornstein, the midfield decision is going to depend on departures. So we know that there are going to be some departures, either Partey or Jorginho, Elneny, ESR. There are going to be a couple of departures in that position. I won't be surprised to see players like Fabio Vieira, who have actually not played a lot of minutes, eventually leave Arsenal this summer, right? I won't be surprised to see them, leave. But for me, it's going to be interesting to see who comes in, right, and who goes up. Adebayo says, I enjoy your videos every time, Cossy. We need a backup for Saka and Benjamin White. I think Julian Timber and Tomiyasu can back up Benjamin White with a good striker, but I don't like to sell Tomiyasu. And that's it. You cannot build an overly big squad. It's either you release the players you have because you believe they're not good enough, or you actually keep them because you believe in them and you believe they're good enough, right? So what is it? Do you believe that Tomiyasu is not good enough, so we bring in a cover for Ben White, or you believe Tommy is good enough, so we keep him, right? A centre back, I will hear cover for White and cover for Gabriel and Saliba, but in the white areas, I think Arsenal is really, really, really well covered. Now, David Ornstein says that in midfield, Arsenal are going to be depending on departures. The information from departures will determine who comes in. It could be a number 6, it could be a number 8, and it's also going to depend on the future of Declan Rice. If Declan Rice is going to continue at Arsenal as a number 8, then Arsenal will sign a number 6. Martin Zubimendi, Youssef Fofana, Bruno Guimaraes, and a couple of other players. But then he also says that if Rice is going to continue as a number 6 at Arsenal, then we will see Arsenal going in the market to sign a number 8. And among the number 8s, I still can go with Bruno Guimaraes. I actually prefer Guimaraes as the number 8 rather than the number 6. But of course, there are some other names on the list that we can talk about. Barella is out there. Tune Comienes is out there at Atalanta. I love that guy. He's a really, really good bowler, in my opinion. So how many midfielders do Arsenal need? Departures are going to be key. But in my opinion right now, I would say Arsenal should go out there and sign 2 midfielders, right? Because Elneny is going to leave, and one of Jorginho and Partey is going to leave as well. So that opens up a huge gap in midfield. It opens up a huge deficiency in our midfield. The time I've seen Declan Rice at West Ham, at Arsenal, at England, we want to call him a ball-winning midfielder, right? And he has built his career from winning the ball, right? Breaking play, winning the ball, disjoining attacks and all that. But I don't think Declan Rice is your traditional number 6. I don't think he's your traditional Partey. I don't think he's your Jorginho either. So I'm going to call it right now, right? Before we get into the sum, I'm going to call it. I think Declan Rice from henceforth is going to be Arsenal's number 8 rather than Arsenal's number 6. That is where he's more comfortable. He's more comfortable with one player behind him. He's more comfortable with a number 6 behind him. And we have seen him play much better football with Jorginho in the team. We have seen him play much better football with Partey in the team. And that explains the bad performances against Aston Villa when we never played him. We never played any of Jorginho or Partey, in the team. So I think Partey plays as 8, and Rice plays as 8, one of Partey and Jorginho leaves, and that opens up space for us to go out there and sign a number 6. Okay, and they're not going to come cheap. Martin Zubimendi is one of the key targets. Zubimendi is going to cost us around 60 million. Is what I understand. He has a release clause of, in that region, 60 million. So if it's Zubimendi, I'm okay with Martin Zubimendi. If it is Joshua Kimmich, experience, pedigree, again, I'm okay with Joshua Kimmich, such a quality player. If it's Bruno Guimaraes, then there is a question to be had. According to recent reports, Guimaraes to Arsenal is one to watch, right? That deal is one to watch. Many pundits out there, many football reports coming out there believe that this is a deal that could be done this summer. So for me, midfield, we go with 2. We sign 1 in midfield, in deep 6, and then we look at the departures. Fabio Vieira, Emil Smith-Rowe, all these guys. If Mikel Arteta doesn't trust them, if Mikel Arteta is not at that point where he believes they are going to do the job, then we let them go. It's as simple as that. We let them go. If Mikel Arteta believes they can get the job done, if Mikel Arteta believes in Vieira and believes in Emil Smith-Rowe, then it's as simple as us saying, listen, we believe in Vieira, we believe in Emil Smith-Rowe, they stay, we sign 1 midfielder, and the midfield problem is done. So for midfield, obviously you have the likes of Zubimendi, you have the likes of Kimmich, you have Fofana, you have Guimaraes, you have the likes of Julian Brandt. I would love to see Arsenal sign a player like Julian Brandt, because for me, Brandt is your typical number 8. And the way we play football these days, our left-hand side is dying. We are not really creating a lot from the left-hand side. We're really not scoring a lot of goals from the left-hand side. And I know, it's tactical from Mikel Arteta. But if you brought in a player like Julian Brandt, it would allow you to have a balanced pitch. Because you already have the likes of Martinelli on the left-hand side. You already have the likes of Zinchenko, who can create on the left-hand side, and Timber. How about just bringing in a player like Julian Brandt to coordinate things on the left-hand side, just like Odegaard does it? I mean, that would create problems for Kai Havertz and Declan Rice. But I would love to see Arsenal utilize that left-hand side more than we actually do. But anyway, let me know what you think. Hit the like button for me right in the comment box below. Truguna says, Cossy, how are you, my brother? I'm good. How are you doing, Truguna? Hope you're doing well. Just to get for us the backup for Saka. That's what we say. We're gonna talk about the winger. Cossy, Rice is not good at number 6 for Arsenal. Arteta should go for Bruno for 6. And then Michael says, good evening, Cossy. Shadrach says, Rice is not good at 6. I wouldn't say he's not good at 6. I would say his talents are better utilized in this Arsenal side, a little bit further forward on the left-hand side. I think when you say he's not good at 6, he's one of the most effective ball winners ever, in Europe right now. Like right now. One of the most effective ball winners. So you can't say he's not good at 6. But I hear you. He's not Lodre. He's not Zubimendi. He's not Busquets. He's not Partey. And I think the deficiencies of Declan Rice clearly bring out what players like Busquets do, what players like Partey do, what players like Jorginho do. Because without Jorginho, the team just seems in panic, and the midfield just seems not to be nice. But with Jorginho there is a little bit of calm in that midfield, and everything feels nice, and everything feels like it's going in our favor, right? So I hear you when you say Declan Rice should maybe move a little bit further forward, and then we get in a new number 6. Now, Bruno Guimaraes, according to the Newcastle, I've not really watched Newcastle a lot of the time, I'm sorry, but according to some of the Newcastle outlets, especially the fans that I've talked to and I've seen and I've watched their content, they believe that Bruno Guimaraes would be a much better player as well if he had a number 6, right? So him and Sandro Tonali would be better in midfield if they had a number 6 like, say, Thomas Partey. Now, I've seen Bruno Guimaraes. He is rough, right? And him being rough and a little bit physical, people actually people think that he is a number 6 because he's rough and physical. Actually not. His creative game is also up there, and his ball progression is also up there. And I think him and Partey are a little bit comparable in what they do. I think with Bruno, I kind of feel like he's more of the traditional 8, just the traditional 8. He's rough, he wins the ball back, and he's dirty, disgusting, right? Kind of Patrick Vieira-esque. He'll bully you in midfield. With Declan Rice, he's a cleaner number 8, right? So I still think if Arsenal are going to bring in Bruno, at some point in time, maybe 2 years later, maybe 3 years later, we might still go back to the market and sign a number 6. But I hear you on that, and thank you so much for getting involved. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're watching live. Now, the midfield, I'm not sure how many players we're gonna lose, but it looks like 1 or 2 will be a sure incoming. What about in the forward positions? You guys are talking about a replacement for Bukayo Saka, not a replacement, by a backup for Bukayo Saka. And I think a winger at Arsenal is a necessity. The only difference I have with you all is this. I don't think Arsenal should sign a backup this summer for anyone in the front positions. I think Arsenal need to go out there this summer to sign a starter on the left wing. And this is being cruel, and this is being harsh on Gabriel Martinelli, but I think Kavica Kvaratskhelia at Napoli would do a better job than Gabriel Martinelli, in my opinion. This is my opinion. You can let me know about yours. I think Rafa Leao at AC Milan will do a much better job than Gabriel Martinelli on the left wing. I also think, respectively, by the way, I also think that if Arsenal went out and signed Rodrigo from Real Madrid, I don't know if it's possible, but if it's possible, Rodrigo would do a much better job for Arsenal on the left wing than Gabriel Martinelli. And I'm going to talk about my Gabriel Martinelli problems because I have quite a couple of them. Now, what should we do when it comes to wingers? Saka clearly needs to rest. But for me, Saka's lack of resting is not because there are not any options to rotate him. I mean, just think about this. We have had Trossard, we have had Martinelli, we have had Fabio Vieira, we have had Jesus and Saka. Those are 5 players that Mikel Arteta could choose from to play a different set of pair every single game. And he has chosen Saka all the time. Jesus for me can play there. There is no question about that. Martinelli can play there. There is no question about that. And even Leandro Trossard can play there. Maybe they cannot give you the same amount of output like Saka, but you could take off Saka in the 70th minute, right? And you bring on a Trossard. And we have seen games where Saka's picked up a knock, 70 minutes, it's Arsenal's win, 3-0. We are leading the game comfortably, and Mikel Arteta has not taken off Saka. So that we don't have any evidence that Mikel Arteta is really sure he's going to, he's going to, be able to substitute Saka off, even if we signed in anyone, right? So I'm not buying into the Saka backup as a priority. I think we need them. We need a backup for Saka, but it's not a priority, in my own opinion. Okay, let's see. Well, let's see what you're saying. Good evening, Michael. Adonai. Okay, Adonia says, Murillo is better, bro. Look, I've seen Murillo at Nottingham Forest, quality player there. Adonai also says, but bro, Saliba and Gabi have good replacement, surely. I don't think we have good backup for those two. I will disagree with you. I will disagree with you. Shadrach says, Cossy, do you think Rashford can be a good Saka replacement? I think Rashford would be a good Gabriel Martinelli backup or replacement, because you look at what Rashford likes to do. He loves to play on the left wing, cut inside on his stronger right foot, and get shots away. So I think he would be a much better player on the left wing rather than as the Saka replacement. But obviously, if you played him there, I think he can do a job as well. Oliver says, Cossy, my opinion is let Arteta sign one midfielder, one striker like Gyökeres, one backup for Saka, I think we should consider Nico Williams. I think at Betis. We'll talk about Nico Williams. So for me, the winger option that I want Arsenal to go for is proven quality. I want someone proven. I want someone who is who's ready to bang in the goals, and that could be a little bit. How should I call it? Greedy, right? But I looked at this Arsenal side in the UEFA Champions League when we were playing Bayern, and I said, who is going to lift us when Saka doesn't? If the partnership between Odegaard and Saka fails, who is going to lift us? Who's going to give us, something different? Imagine if we had another partnership. I want you to picture in your mind last season Manchester City, the partnership between Ilkay Gundogan and Jack Grealish on the left-hand side, and then the partnership between Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne on the pitch as well, because De Bruyne created most chances for Haaland last season. When you have those different partnerships on the pitch, it's different. And that's what I want Arsenal to have. I want us to have a reliable left winger that we know if we play the ball on the left-hand side, we can get 2-3 goals. When we play the ball on the right-hand side, we can get 2 or 3 goals as well. I think Saka has been remarkable, impeccable for Arsenal. There is no question about Saka's reliability and Saka's quality. But the reason as to why Saka is getting many goals and many assists, and I'm not going to lie about this, is this. Literally every single attacking action for Arsenal goes through Odegaard and Saka on the right-hand side. So as much as I want to blame the players on the left-hand side for being maybe not good enough, lazy, not showing up this season, they have literally not have had a lot to do, right? It hasn't been in their power. So I want us to go out there and sign a more quality left winger. One player on the left wing. Like I said, Kavicha Kvaratskhelia, good lad. I would love to bring him in. Rafa Leao, very good lad. I would love to bring him in. And then we see if we can have a bit of balance, right? You want to look at Madrid. Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo. Rodrigo is scoring a lot of goals, and Vinicius Jr. is creating a lot of problems for teams. So who do you mark? It's the same thing with clubs like Barcelona. You have the youngster, Lamine Yamal on the right hand side, and then on the left you have Rafinha, you have your Torres. They're scoring goals, but Lamine Yamal is causing problems. So for us to minimize the marking on Saka, we could get someone who is equally as good as Saka, who is equally as or even better than Saka on the left hand side, so that clubs have to divide their attention. But at the moment, as long as you mark Saka out of the game, this Arsenal team is done. Our tricks are finished. Obviously, they're not finished. We have scored some more goals away from Saka's brilliance. And Nelson says, to me, I would prefer Nico Williams to deputize Saka for some minor games, right? No, not mind games, but for some minor games. For some minor games, you've not considered an injury. You've not considered an injury on the part of Saka. If Saka is injured, would you say Nico Williams would be your go-to guy? I don't know. I mean, let me know in the comment box below. So I think a winger is a priority, and then obviously a striker is a priority. It's going to be fascinating to see what Arsenal do up top, right? So let us start off with this. The Athletic are now backing up a story. I think the story was first produced by John Cross from the Mirror. I don't know why I call him John Cross Mirror. I mean, that is how his Twitter handle comes off. But John Cross reported that Arsenal's transfer priorities are now changing due to Kai Havertz and the season he is having. So Arsenal could look to sign a younger striker, not a prolific striker like Gyökeres or Isak, but a younger striker who is going to develop at the side rather than a well-established number 9. And in that, they were quoting that Arsenal could sign or could be looking to sign Ivan Ferguson at Brighton. they were they were quoting young strikers, and I think even Ferguson is one of the top young strikers you can think about. Now, I do not know where we are in terms of our development because I've not looked at the documents prepared by Mikel Arteta. I don't know where he thinks that. I don't know where he thinks his team is in terms of development. But for me, this is what I would say. If you're Arsenal and you go out there in the transfer market, and one of your big problems is, not really scoring goals, but you need a number 9, and you convince us that Ivan Ferguson is the guy, I'm not really 100% buying into that. Like, Kai Havertz has done well. There's no question there, right? And I want your thoughts here, guys, in the comment box below. Do you think Kai Havertz should be relied on as Arsenal's primary goal getter next season? Do you think Arsenal should change their transfer strategy and look at a younger striker, maybe someone even of low quality, right? Because we have Kai Havertz. Because for me, I know it makes it really makes sense, right? It really makes sense. But at the same time, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And this is what I mean when I say it makes sense, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. This is what I mean. So, for the last 3-4 years, we are, all indications have been Arsenal will eventually sign a quality number 9, right? Arsenal will eventually sign a striker who's going to come in and deliver at the big stage. Those are the indications that we have had. And I've always thought our process is driving in that direction, is rolling into that direction. Work on the defense, work on the goalkeepers, work on the midfield, and finally getting a goal getter and then start competing really for the big silverware. We have reached that point. We have reached that point where the midfield that we have right now can compete. The defense can compete. The goalkeeping department can compete. Now we are going to capitulate. Now we are going to rethink. Now we are going to reconsider. I'm not buying into this, right? I'm not buying into this. But again, if Jesus stays and Havertz stays, I think Mikel Arteta would be prompted to think otherwise, right? I think Mikel would be prompted to think otherwise in terms of getting in a new big number 9. So I think bringing in a super number 9, a super striker, might actually depend on departures as well. If Jesus can go, right? I mean, Arsenal, according to rumors, Arsenal would prefer to sell to Saudi Arabia. That's what I'm hearing. But Chelsea could be a big contender for Gabriel Jesus. So if Gabriel Jesus is sold and Eddie Nketiah is sold, Arsenal might just bring in a number 9, a super number 9. But if Jesus stays, Nketiah leaves, and Kai Havertz stays, there is even a possibility that we don't sign a striker. There is even a possibility that Arsenal don't look at the number 9 market. I mean, or we just bring in someone to develop. I'm not convinced by that. I'm really not convinced by that. And that story is actually, by the way, coming from a very, very reliable source, James McNicholas, and The Athletic. David Ornstein, not James McNicholas, but David Ornstein from The Athletic, that Arsenal will reconsider their striking priorities given the form of Kai Havertz. So there you have it, right? Is the striking position a priority? In my opinion, it is a big priority. I would love to see a big number 9. Actually, in terms of priority, I think striker first, second is backup goalkeeper, third is midfield, and fourth is defense. Because for the defense, I still think Arsenal can still do a good job, even if we lose one of our quality players. Look at Timber; he's not played all season, right? But look at where we are. We are waiting patiently for Tottenham to beat Manchester City so that we can carry the title home. It's as simple as that, right? The dynamics are that simple. So anyway, the strikers. Okay, the strikers. Gyökeres, Isak, those are the two names that the media are actually fronting in terms of what Arsenal want. But of course, Ollie Watkins is another striker that is really, really appreciated in that regard. If Arsenal could get either one of those, I think that is good. What I like about Watkins, he's got the Ken, Benzema, Lewandowski vibe of, getting older and getting better. I kind of feel like strikers are becoming that. They're picking up that gene of the older they are getting, the better they are getting. Watkins has scored 19 non-penalty goals this campaign. That is remarkable. That is good. If you don't think that's remarkable, you can let me know in the comment box below. But for me, that is remarkable. That's actually really, really good. Simon says Gyökeres replaces Jesus and Bruno for Partey. Nelson says we should never depend on Kai as our leading goal scorer. We need a threatening striker. I don't mean to downplay Kai Havertz's ability and role at Arsenal this season. He has had a tremendous season. Like, for a player who has been really trolled that much, to chip in with 12 goals and 6 assists, that is 18 goal contributions. Like, if you think about the teams that were, saying this is like wastage of money. Man United, I don't know who's their leading top scorer, but Man United would be scratching themselves to have those numbers that Kai Havertz has produced. Chelsea would be bracing themselves to have those numbers that Kai Havertz has produced. The same as so many clubs out there. Even Liverpool this season, by the way. Even Liverpool, right? I think Salah has been great, but if you add Kai Havertz's goal contributions to what Salah has been producing, you have a different animal in Liverpool. So I don't want to downgrade him, and I don't want to I don't want to seem like I'm downplaying his efforts, but honestly, he's not your go-to guy for goals. And I've always said that him and Gabriel Jesus, their conversion rate is not that high. Anyway, for Kai Havertz this season, he's had a 21% conversion rate. 21% conversion rate. Gabriel Jesus has had a 9% conversion rate. So you can see the difference. The chances that are falling to Kai Havertz, if those chances are falling to Ken, if those chances are falling to Gyökeres, if those chances are falling to a player like Isak, he's barring them. Like, Isak this season has been so lethal. He has been very, very clinical. If you get Alexander Isak's goal contributions, which are 20 goal contributions right now, and you add them to this Arsenal team right now, we win the league. And we win the league before May, right? We are already in May, 2 days into May. But what I'm trying to say is Isak's goal contributions would win Arsenal the title before we get into May. So I don't think Mikel Arteta is right on this one. I don't think it's right for us to be comfortable. I'm not really sure, right? I'm not really sure. Now, how much are we going to spend? According to the rumors, again, in the papers, the Cronkies are willing to back Mikel Arteta yet again with a heavy summer, regardless of what happens. Whether Arsenal win the title or Arsenal don't win the title, Mikel Arteta is going to be backed, and he's going to be backed, very, very well. And we might be looking at another 200 million like we were looking at last summer. We might be looking at another 200 million. And for me, it's going to be 200 million. It's got to be 200 million, regardless of how many signings we actually bring in. It's got to be 200 million. Because you look at the striker position, right? In terms of strikers, if Arsenal say we go for Gyökeres, that is 70, right? That is 70 to 80 million. Gyökeres, 70 to 80 million, right? I think it will be negotiated down to around 75 million pounds for Gyökeres. He's in form. Strikers are in demand. Someone told me that strikers will be very many in the market. Strikers will be very many, but the question is, how many of them will be quality? Yeah, that's the question. How many of those strikers will actually be real quality? It's going to be Gyökeres, it's going to be Isak, it's going to be maybe Jonathan David and Osimhen. So the lowest quality striker the cheapest quality striker on the market is going to be Victor Gyökeres for 70 million. Isak, 100 million. Osimhen, 100 million. Jonathan David, I'm not convinced about the Canadian. Unless you guys have real evidence of Jonathan David, but I'm not convinced about him, right? He spent a lot of time in Lille in the French League One, and I would rather just Arsenal forget about him. So let's go with Gyökeres, 75 million. That's already 75 million, pounds spent. The midfield. If we are going to get a 6, right, and we go for Bruno Guimaraes, I think Bruno Guimaraes is going to be 80 million. I think it's 80 million for Bruno Guimaraes, and 75 for Gyökeres. That's around 155 million already. We've not brought in a new defender, we've not brought in a winger, and we've not brought in a new goalkeeper. So if you add a new goalkeeper, you add a defender to that, and you add a winger, we are talking about 200 million. So Arsenal, again, I think it was Simon Jordan at the beginning of this season who was talking about what Arsenal need to do in the every season, and he said Arsenal are going to have to spend 200 million almost every summer in order to keep up with Man City. And I thought it was a joke, but it's not a joke. That midfield, if you're going to sign 2 midfielders, that's already 100 million. A striker, that could be already 100 million, and then a winger, that's another maybe 70 million. That's already 200 million, and I won't be surprised that this year Arsenal spent 200 million on this squad, and next summer, because we will have to sell, and we're going to discuss some players that are going to be leaving, but I won't be surprised for Arsenal to spend something like 100 million again next summer in 2025.